All right, we're going to bring this meeting to order. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Queen Anne's County Commissioners meeting. This is a public meeting that is being aired live on our local cable television station, QACTV 7. These media broadcasts provide county citizens an opportunity to watch and participate in scheduled public meetings for the county commissioners. In addition to the live audience this evening, we are providing remote options for citizens to watch county commissioner meetings. Citizens may watch our meeting live on our website at qac.org/live or on our television channel, Breezeline Channel 7 and High Definition Channel 507. We acknowledge everyone's participation, and by attending, you acknowledge that this session is both recorded and aired. Press and public comment will be taken and is limited to 3 minutes per person. If you do care to speak, please sign up at the information table in the lobby. Comments longer than 3 minutes can be submitted in writing for the commissioner's review as well. We will now stand and be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Commission President Jim Moran.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Again, welcome everybody. So the purpose of our meeting this evening is to present the County Commissioner's proposed FY27 capital and operating budgets, and then receive public comment from folks that have signed up. And don't fret, if you haven't signed up, we will call anybody that wants to sign up or speak at the end of the meeting after the presentation if you choose to do so. So with that, I want to introduce our county commissioners, your county commissioners. So starting here with Commission at-Large President Jim Moran. Seated next to him is our Vice President from District 1, Jack Wilson. Sitting next to Jack is District 2 Representative Patrick McLaughlin. Next to him is Phil Dumanel from District 3. And all the way down at the end of the table is Chris Corcorino from District 4. Okay, so I have a short presentation that provides a high-level overview of the FY27 proposed budget. And again, following the presentation, we'll be receiving public comments from the audience. And again, we have the sign-up sheets out there, but we'll also take a raise of hand for public testimony at the conclusion of the presentation. So I see the commissioners are in the front row so they can see as well. All right, so here we go. Again, I am Todd Mon, the County Administrator, and again, this is the County Commissioner's FY27 proposed operations and capital budget. So leading off, our FY27 budget comes in at $231 million. That's primarily derived of income tax revenue, which is projected to grow by about 14%. Property tax revenue, which is projected to grow about 10%. Those are over the FY25 actuals. We do have some new tax revenue from short-term rental permitting and tax collection for that program. That increases of over $100,000 in revenue next year. As far as the tax rates, the county commissioners have two tax rates that they set. The first one is income tax, and that is proposed to remain the same at 3.2% for FY27. And the good news is the property tax rate, the commissioners have proposed a decrease in your property tax rate of 3 cents per $100 of assessed value. And the chart on your left shows that the lion's share of our revenue stream comes from income and property tax at 86%. Some highlights of the operational budget expenditures. Leading off, we have the Board of Education that was funded $8.7 million above the FY26 allocation. That is $8.9 million above the maintenance of effort requirements. We've also added an additional emergency medical systems crew. A 7th EMS unit has been added to the budget to continue to decrease our response time for emergency services at $1.2 million per year. We've also included 16 new positions, including a new bus driver for the county ride group, a new jury commissioner for our circuit courthouse, a communications captain for the Department of Emergency Services, and as I mentioned earlier, the 8 positions for the 7th EMS unit. For our staffing, we've included funding for employee recruitment and retention actions, which includes a 3% cost of living allowance and pay for performance. In our capital plan, we have PAYGO money that's going to be transferred to the capital projects account of $4.4 million. I want to talk a little bit about the Board of Education appropriations history and the forecast going forward. As many of you know, we get funding from both the state and the county commissioners for our public school systems. So the first, I wanted to talk about the state funds. The state funding for fiscal year 2027 is $45 million and change. Unfortunately, that's about $3.5 million less than the original state Kerwin funding plan for FY27 projection. So that adds to the deficit, which is now at $12 million less than the original state Kerwin funding plan allocation was projected for FY22 through FY27 from our state of Maryland. The county funds for fiscal year 27 come in at $91.4 million. Again, that is $8.8 million above the maintenance of effort requirement, and this does not include teacher pension liabilities or private daycare costs that were shifted from the state passed down to the county. So on average, the county has been funding above maintenance of effort of about $7 million per year for the last several years. Now this next slide shows a little graphic representation of some of those figures. You see the blue line on the left-hand side. That is the actual state funding that we are receiving for the Board of Education. The red line just above that shows where they should be, where they projected they would be. So you see they're falling a bit short for their funding allocations. The green line is the county commissioners' allocation. You can see they are above the red dashed line, which shows they are above what the requirement is for the maintenance of effort calculations for public school funding. The other chart, the K through 12 student population, you can see we are experiencing continued enrollment deficits or declines. We started back in 2017 at 7,397 students. We peaked just before COVID at 7,500, over 7,500 students, and we've been declining ever since. In FY26, we have 7,115 students in our school system, just to give you perspective on funding versus our student enrollment. All right, this next slide shows the revenue streams that we receive as a county government, all of them. Over the past few years, we've been very conservative out of concern for tariffs and potential federal layoffs and impacts and other uncertainties with the federal government. So we have been conservative with our revenue estimates. However, we do continue to see income tax growth in excess of state estimates. And for next year, we are estimating $105.5 million in total revenue from income tax. And to highlight a few other allocations on this chart, just below that, our public utility tax is expected to decline as utility assets are continuing to decrease due to asset depreciation. Our recordation and transfer taxes are both increasing, primarily due to continued strong new home sales and increased home values. Our intergovernmental revenue are increasing due to increased and higher 911 fee collections and grants for police aid. Our interest income is expected to continue to decline as the federal government continues to slowly lower our interest rates. So our total revenue stream for FY27 at the bottom in the FY27 Commissioner budget column is $230,950,880. This graphic depiction just shows where your tax dollars go. So 66 cents of every general fund dollar is allocated to education and public safety. So what does that mean? 43 cents of every dollar goes to the public school system, Board of Education. 23 cents goes to our public safety group, which is emergency services, police, fire, volunteer services, and detention center. That's followed by general government at 9 cents, public works 7 cents, parks, recreation, natural resources 3 cents, and everything else that's left, outside agencies and other departments at 15 cents, just to give you a representation of where those tax dollars are allocated. But the takeaway here is 2/3 of our operations budget goes for education and public safety. This is our chart we show every year. It's the real property tax rate by county. This is all the counties in Maryland and Baltimore City. We are very pleased to report that we are projected to be the absolute lowest property tax rate in the state after the FY27 decrease of 3 cents per $100 of assessed value. And that's Queen Anne's County down there in the yellow bar where the star is. And everything goes up from there, well over $1 for most of the counties. And then Baltimore City all the way to the left-hand side of the chart, over $2 per $100 of assessed value. All right, this next series of slides shows the budget expenditures by department and the other agencies that we fund, outside agencies, and other debt service and other expenses. I will highlight a few things on these, but generally our departmental increases are expected to increase by about 5 to 7%, mainly due to staff salaries, health insurance, and benefit increases. So we are expecting additional needs in the legal services group due to increasing anticipated litigation on some high-profile cases. Budget and finance is up due to additional accounting support for the town of Sudlersville. We just recently acquired their water and sewer division as part of the county system, along with increases for postage expenses for tax bills and tax delinquency bills. Our human resources group expenses do include now a new peer-to-peer counseling program for our public safety employees and volunteer firefighters, so a little bigger increase there. Our public housing shows a higher increase as well to cover the hiring of an additional employee for ongoing maintenance services in our housing group. This next slide includes Public Works and Parks and Recreation. So under the Public Works, our Animal Services Division is a bit higher for additional kennel equipment necessary, emergency lighting, and other safety features at our Animal Services Shelter. Under the Parks and Recreation Group, some good news here. Both the airport and the golf course are lower due to reduced general fund support needed to balance their budgets, respectively. We recently closed on an airport loan, and we are receiving greater revenue streams from the golfing fees at the Blue Heron Golf Course. So good news there. Okay, these are our outside agencies. Leading off, again, the Board of Education with a 10.6% increase, as mentioned, and that's to cover the cost of mandated costs by the Blueprint for Maryland's Education Future, primarily for salaries for teachers. The other agencies that we have listed here, the state's attorney's office shows a larger increase to cover new case management software for their agency to increase for their increasing caseload. Also, the circuit court is getting an additional jury commissioner next year with the help to help them with their increased caseload. The Board of Elections increases covers the leasing of additional polling book equipment, and our Soil Conservation Service is lower next year due to the reduction in their workforce by 1.5 full-time equivalents. These are the other categories, including debt, other, and transfers in the operations budget. The Board of Education debt is higher next year due to the debt service for the new administration building and roof projects at both Mattapique Elementary and Mattapique Middle Schools. Our intergovernmental expenses are increasing due to continued increases from the state SSTAT assessment office, which is a state agency, which we pay for now, increases to town rebates via the tax offset program, and an increase in the state pension administration fees that we must pay. Our general insurance is also increasing due to premiums and the addition of the Public Housing Authority facilities under the county's umbrella. And under the transfer section, the capital fund is up due to an increase of PAYGO funding support, which is transferred over to the FY27 capital projects account for capital projects. And lastly on this, I'll say that the ag transfer is projected to decrease next year due to a reduction in the anticipated funding support needed for that program. So what's changed between this fiscal year and next fiscal year? And this chart basically just shows the revenue increase of $21.5 million and the corresponding expenditure increase, also of $21.5 million. Again, the lion's share of the revenue increase is from property taxes and income taxes, $16 million and $3.4 million respectively, followed by the intergovernmental transfers at $900,000. On the expense side, we're allocating an additional $8.9 million to the Board of Education, and our public safety group gets $2.3 million in addition next year, and then the transfer to capital at $3.8 million for our capital projects account. Okay, now we can move into the capital budget. Some highlights here. Again, leading off with the Board of Education, we've included funding for design of the new Centerville Middle School, HVAC replacements at Kennard and Centerville Elementary, a roof replacement at Kennard, a repaving of all the parking surfaces at the Kent Island High School, additional bus replacements, furniture replacements, and some other small projects. Chesapeake College, we've included funding for the Queen Anne's Technical Center. It's a multi-year project funded by the 5 Midshore counties. That project is just out now for design, and we hope to have a groundbreaking ceremony maybe about this time next year for that project, for our CTE programs. For our emergency services, we've included funding for a Motorola console upgrade, new ambulances, radio subscriber replacements, our public safety network, and replacement of personal protective gear and other projects. For the regional hospital, we've allocated an overall $5 million note over 4 years, FY25 through FY28, and this year's allocation is $1.25 million towards the new University of Maryland Medical Systems Regional Hospital. Continuing with capital, we have for the Housing Authority, major repairs of our units and maintenance for Fisher Manor, Riverside Estates, Graysonville Terrace, Terrapin Grove, Foxtown, and our scattered site housing stock. We've included additional funding of $835,000 for the volunteer fire companies for purchase of apparatus and facility construction. For animal services, we've got funding for design of a new animal services shelter and adoption center, planning and design money of $300,000. For our roads division, we have funding for a new pedestrian bridge over US 5301 on Kent Island. That is a large grant-funded project, 85% grant, and that's $3 million. We anticipate hopefully receiving good word on that here in the next few months. For our Parks Department, we have funding for the continuation of the South Island Trail expansion, capital equipment, athletic field work, major maintenance, new field lighting for White Marsh and Bats Neck Parks. For our recreation group, we have funding for land acquisition and design and contract development for a new recreation center, also on Kent Island at $10.5 million. For general services and engineering, we've included funding for renovations of the historic courthouse and other county facilities. And for our information technology team, we have funding for new IT infrastructure and other technology-associated projects for cybersecurity. Again, with roads, we have $5 million allocated for systems preservation, for asphalt overlays and capital equipment. We have $5 million roughly for the Southern Kent Island sewer phases 3 and 4, the final 2 phases for that Route 8 sewer expansion to include Queen Anne Colony, Kentmore, Chesapeake Estates, Sonny-Isle, Kent, Bats Neck, Normans, and Mattapique Estates, and that'll wrap that project up. We've got a grant for $3 million to improve the Sudlersville wastewater treatment plant to the new ENR technology. And we have $500,000 for our next sewer extension project planned for Marling Farms and Dominion, and that is another sewer extension project to existing communities that have public health concern septic system failures. This last slide shows the capital budget by funding source. We do have a variety of different funds that we use for our capital plan, and I'll run through those real quickly. We've got $4.4 million in PAYGO funding, nearly $8 million in grant funding, $30.8 million, in bonds, $13.2 million capital fund balance. We have $5.2 million in loans, and those are for the sewer projects that get paid back with special benefit assessments. And other funding sources include developer exactions and special benefit assessment collections for road projects, rounding out our $63.5 million capital plan for FY27. Okay, so if you want to dig deeper into our proposed FY27 budget, everything's on our website. I encourage you to go there. Here's the link. And you can go there and peruse every number, all the agencies, all the departments, all the detail you need, and we'd be happy to answer any questions at your leisure. You can let us know if you have questions about anything you see or on the budget mailers that you've received. We've also have a handout here that has a lot of additional information, including what I've presented here tonight, some additional pie charts, and the 5-year capital plan. So that's available here this evening. So if you haven't picked one of those up, please get one on your way out, and we'd be happy to answer questions on that as well. So that concludes the very brief, high-level presentation of the FY27 proposed budget. We can now take any public comment. So commissioners, if you want to come on back up to the podium, or excuse me, to the front desk, and we'll run through the comments. So. You want to read the names? So when I call your name, just come on up to the standing microphone and please state your name and where you live. First name here is, I've got one more. Benoit Crossart. Benoit Crossart, did I say that right? All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, close.
Yes, sir.
My name is Benoit Crossart, and I'm on Kent Island. And I'd like to start this evening by looking at the revenue side of your budget. So you presented to us, basically, I think you mentioned it, the lion's share comes from property tax and income tax. And when I look at 2026, it's about $90 million revenue stream for each. So indeed, they are, you call them lion's share, I call them elephants. Those are the big revenue streams. So I'll start with property tax. In your cover letter, you highlight, you underline that you're decreasing property tax rate for 2027. And you have showed us this chart over here with the yellow bar right next to Talbot County is Queen Anne County. What the chart doesn't show is that you're comparing your 2027 proposed rate, 80 cents, compared to the 2026 rates for the other counties. And you're saying that that this will put the county, our county, in the lowest tax rate of all 24 jurisdictions in Maryland. But actually, Talbot County is reducing their tax rate, and not from 83 to 80, which is what you're proposing, which is like a 3.5% reduction. So putting things in perspective, when the median household price in in Queen Anne County is about $500,000, that represents a reduction of about $190 per household for the median household, $190 per year. What Talbot County did is a reduction from 80 cents to 67 cents, which is a meaningful reduction in median household property tax. It calculates to about $700 a year, 700 versus the 190 that you're proposing. So that's what I call one elephant in the room. And there's another one, and it's on the income tax. So $90 million from property tax, that's what I just talked about. Now there's another $90 million from income tax. When I compare that to our Talbot County, you're saying in your letter that income tax rate of 3.2% will remain the same for next year. Well, 3.2% versus Talbot County, who's at 2.4%, I think that is a meaningful difference. And our neighbors to the north in Cecil County, I checked also, they're at 2.7%. So at 3.2%, we stand in Queen Anne County at the highest of all 23 jurisdictions. So it sounds like I have to finish. So when voting for commissioners going forward, I want to see a plan that reduces spending so we in Queen Anne County can get off this list of having the highest income tax rate of the 23 counties. I mean, our income tax rate is just as high as Baltimore City, and I don't think that's anything to brag about. I don't like to give out a problem without giving a solution, so here's the solution I have for you. Commissioners, go back to Mr. Mon over here and tell him to take another crack at this budget and cut spending. And cut it to a point that a $700 a year savings to the median household family can be obtained. Talbot County is doing it, so can we. That is what will get you reelected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Matt Kibler.
Good evening, Dr. Matt Kibler, Superintendent, Queen Anne's County Public Schools. I want to start by just thanking the commissioners for their continued support of our public schools. At a time when districts across Maryland are cutting programs and eliminating positions, we recognize just how fortunate we are to have commissioners supporting our public schools in Queen Anne's County. The proposed budget increase for our schools will allow us to meet our contractual obligations to employees and maintain our current programs and staffing levels. After 2 very difficult years of cuts and furloughs, that is a significant step forward for our school system. This also means that we are continuing to meet our obligations under the blueprint for Maryland's future. For example, starting teacher salaries next year will be $60,000. We've increased the number of full-day pre-kindergarten seats for our youngest learners. We will continue to send hundreds of our students per year to dual enrollment classes at Chesapeake College, while also offering high-quality CTE programs like our new electrical program and our long-standing nursing program. All of this is possible because of your generous support, and for that, we are sincerely grateful. My job as superintendent, though, is to also advocate for the school system. I want Queen Anne's County Public Schools to be in a position to do more than just maintain. We are currently the second highest performing school system on the Eastern Shore, and our goal is to become the highest performing in the state. With 24/7 access to technology and cell phones at our fingertips, we also recognize that students face challenges and stressors in today's world that haven't always been present, even when compared to just a few years ago. Our county is home to outstanding educators, but supporting students requires more than just classroom teachers in today's environment. People make the greatest impact in the lives of our students. Any additional funding provided by the commissioners would go directly towards supporting children in our schools by restoring some of the support that were in place in previous school years. This would include math and reading specialists and staff trained to support the behavioral and mental health needs of our students. Please know this, we are grateful for where we are. We will not make excuses. We won't stand still. We will continue pressing forward and giving the students of Queen Anne's County the very best education possible. Again, I want to thank you for your partnership and your support of the children and families of Queen Anne's County. I also want to say I plan to be able to be at all of these, but I can't tomorrow night. I'm going to be cheering on the Kent Island High School boys lacrosse team at Stevensville University as they try to win back-to-back state championships for the 3rd time and their 4th state championship out of the past 5 years.
Nice.
So go Bucks, and thank you for all your support.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Janet Salazar.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Janet Salazar, the Director for the Public Libraries, and I am also here to thank you for our funding this year. Thank you for the continued support of the library, for the investment that you make in our staff and our services every year. We truly appreciate the funding included in this year's budget, especially the additional outreach position that is much needed. That position will allow us to strengthen our connections throughout the county and expand access to library services for residents who may not otherwise be able to get to our branches. We are grateful that when you are building the county budget, you always remember our staff and the value that they bring to the library. So thank you very much for that. I also want to thank you for including the North County branch funding. This project represents a really important step forward for the expanding of library access and services to residents in the northern part of our county. We're currently developing a community survey to better understand what services and resources and programs the residents would most value in their new space. And we want to ensure that this branch reflects the unique needs of that community and becomes a welcoming, flexible resource for all ages. And finally, if additional funding should come available, we would ask you to consider the support of an additional full-time makerspace position at this branch. As you saw in a recent library update, Our makerspace usage has grown tremendously, with unique users and unique sessions increasing by 90% in less than 1 year. This growth demonstrates both the demand for and the impact of these services. The makerspace provides opportunities for creativity, workforce development, technology education, and hands-on learning for residents of all ages. An additional staff member would allow us to better support patrons, expand programming opportunities, and maintain equipment, and continue growing this valuable community resource in a sustainable way. So I thank you for our budget, and thank you for listening.
Rebecca Donovan?
Good evening, Rebecca Donovan from Chester. I may look a little familiar to most of you. I know we just came from the ribbon cutting earlier this evening, and I do want to take a moment to thank you guys for including that budget so that we could get that renovation of Mowbray Park and allowing us to be a part of it. That is not why I am here tonight. However, tonight I am here to ask you all to prioritize funding for mental health support within our Board of Education, specifically programs focused on mental health awareness, suicide prevention, peer support, crisis identification, and accessible counseling resources for students in our county. Tonight I'm speaking not just as a fellow grieving parent, but also as a co-leader of a bereaved parent support group here on the island through Grief Share Ministry at the Kent Island Methodist Church. It's through that group that I've come to understand how serious the youth mental health crisis is in our county. Recently, parents joined our group after losing their son to suicide. Through conversations in our share group, I learned that 4 children in our county have died by suicide this school year. 4. They are not statistics. They're children, classmates, friends, sons, daughters, futures. And for every child that we do lose, there are countless more who are silently struggling. We cannot wait until more families are sitting in our grief support group to recognize that intervention is needed now. Our schools are in a unique position to help identify warning signs and create environments where students feel safe asking for help. But educators cannot do it alone without proper funding, staffing, and resources. We need increased investment in school counselors, mental health professionals, peer mentoring, peer support groups, suicide awareness training, and programs that teach students how to recognize when a friend might be struggling. Mental health support is not an extra. It is not optional. It is prevention, intervention, and life-saving. I understand that budgets are difficult and that there are a lot of things competing for that funding, but I'm asking you tonight to view this as an urgent investment in the lives of the children in our county, because no parent should ever have to plan a funeral for their child, and no family should have to find their way into a bereaved parent support group because help did not come soon enough. If there's anything we can do together to prevent even one more family from experiencing this kind of loss, then it's worth the investment, and I hope that you believe that as well. Thank you for your time, for your leadership, and your consideration.
Thank you.
Bridget Heekin? Say that right, Bridget?
Hello, I'm Bridget. I'm from Stevensville. When I got the budget, the first thing that jumped off the page to me was the very first item. Under County Commissioners, $870,000. I've been communicating with Phil. I think you've also provided some of the budget information to drill down to understand what that number meant. And what I learned was a little more distressing than the $870,000. We have 5 commissioners. Their salaries mandated at $25,000 a year. There's $125,000 based on a $250,000, so the other's expenses. My question is, what are those expenses? Because as this gentleman had said, we have to look at expenses. For those who want additional funding for very important programs, the only way we can do it is to reduce our expenses. The second item was for the support staff, and it came to me saying that Stephanie, Sherry, and Bree make a total of $415,000 a year. They are the executive assistant, the administrative assistant, and the office manager. That averages $138,000 a year. I'd like that job. if they were to get the same benefits, which again, I don't understand what they are because, and forgive me if I offend anyone, I assume all of you are on Medicare, so it's not medical benefits, is it? So it's $26,000 in benefits for our commissioners. I'm looking to try and find a way to reduce our expenses so that we can direct the money that we do collect to the important things. And that's going to take some cutting of budgets, not increasing of budgets like the 3% increase on that first line item.
Next, we have Carl Yusevich.
Yusevitz.
Yusevich, thank you.
My name's Carl Yusevitz. I live in Graysonville, Maryland. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you, the board, for allowing me to address some social issues that are ever so present in Queen Anne's County. And I'm here to advocate for more funds for the school board to try and get in front of these social issues. My son was Kevin, who died on the 22nd of December. My wife and I will never be the same from this. And since in the last 5 months, there's been 3 other children that are gone, and I'd venture to say that those parents are never going to be the same either. I don't want to make this about my family, but I want to make this about this community. There's a problem here, and it's not going to go away. We may be close in age, and we know how we were raised, and these issues weren't as prevalent as they are now, and we need to do something about this. This is serious business. I can't even describe to you what it's like to be a dad one day and then the next day you're not. It's undescribable. So I feel the need to be proactive. So I sat in on a few school board meetings. I was welcomed. I was heard. The school doesn't have what they need. They don't have what they need to get in front of this problem. This is a social crisis amongst the future of our county, our state, our country. I asked the school board, what programs are being implemented to get in front of this problem? When the grief counselors show up, we're still behind the problem. We're not in front of it. And it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort, and that takes money. Are the students being addressed? I asked. Are they talking about this? Or is it just being, that's a shame. We miss them. That's not going to help this. They need to understand what mental health, positive mental health, is all about, and how to identify it with their friends. I'm sorry, I'm going to run over, but
Keep going.
So, the other big issue is this bullying issue. Are we monitoring how kids are treating kids? I'm not going to blame this whole thing on, my son's death over that, but that was part of it. He just didn't feel like he could fit in. And that's got to stop. And other kids want to speak up. They do. They want to speak up. But they're afraid of the judgment and the alienation if they do, and where that puts them. And so everybody turns and walks. Not everybody. I don't know. I mean, I wrote all this down, and I'm not going to read this to you. I'm going to speak from the heart as I've been doing, but, you know, the kids need to have some tools. They need to have some education. They need to have some understanding. And the parents need it too. You know, how can the kids come home and talk to their parents? My son didn't talk to us about this. I asked him, everything okay? And everything's fine, Dad. Everything's fine. All these suggestions that I'm making, I mean, I don't have any skin in the game anymore, okay? It's our only child. But I care about my friends, and I care about my neighbors, and I care about their children. I care about the future. It's going to require trained professionals. Teachers can't do this. It's not their job. Their job is to stick to the curriculum and prepare the students for challenges in the workplace, social issues, social settings. That's what it's all about. You know, guidance counselors need to do this, and trained professionals. You know, it's my understanding that average class is like 25 plus students. How does a teacher deal with 25, 15-year-olds? They don't. The ones that want to learn are the ones, and the ones that don't, they play a part, but you have to engage them. So, I don't know. The general consensus is not enough guidance counselors to deal with these social issues. And their job is to direct children for their future. But now they have a new job because there's these new issues that they're dealing with, and they really don't know how. So what are we going to do? We need to bring outside help in to train these guidance counselors, specialties, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm here to support my school board. They need a little bit more money to deal with this. This hasn't been going on consistently for years. This is like, you can't tell me that. I mean, name another place that 4 children are gone in 5 months. This isn't normal. They need more help.
And give up an overpass for more guidance counselors.
So that's all I have, and I appreciate you letting me speak and going over. And I love this county. I love my community, I love my neighbors, and my neighbors' children. These kids are the commodity of the future. That's what this is about. So, you know, and they, if we can start this, they can carry it into the future. And just maybe there'll be a little bit more understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jesse Knight.
My name's Jesse. I'm from Ken Island Little League. I just came here today to say thank you guys so much for the Bats Neck project. I brought a couple gentlemen with me. I know the baseball and softball community has been waiting for a long time for lights down in this area. We need it. Some real life issues we have is, I know your chart showed that, you know, the enrollments for, you know, Kibler's school district is going down, but I get all of them. I get the homeschool kids, I get the private school kids, and I am at the max. So this year I had no open fields. So those fields were full all the time. So I kind of want to plant the seed. You guys are going to get to know me more. I'm going to get on your nerves like I've been getting on Phil's nerves quite a bit. commute 5 hours a day, so I watch a lot of post meetings, new meetings. Just to comment on one of your comments a while back, Patrick, when you made the extension cord and light comment about the lights, some of us did do that. I coached football in Graysonville, and some of those kids couldn't get to the Piranhas organization, so another gentleman made Graysonville community, and I used to go pick quite a few kids up and bring them to practice, and I had to bring Milwaukee lights because we didn't have lights for those kids to participate in a youth sport. So like to see the property by Mallard Run get developed, some more baseball fields down in this area. We need them. I know budgets are tough, you know, nobody wants to spend money, but you know, as many data centers and big tech and everything else going, the more kids we can keep active at parks and playing sports is a good thing. And attending some meetings with Parks and Rec, there were quite a few kids coming down to our county from New York, Pennsylvania, and surrounding areas to come enjoy, you know, where we live, and I want to keep it that way. So, gentlemen, again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Barbara Dawson.
Hi, I'm Barb Dawson. I'm on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I just wanted to speak on, I guess, behalf of the board or of our committee that thank you so much for supporting Parks and Rec and everything that they do. Today at Mowbray Park at the dedication ceremony, you know, it was amazing to see what Parks and Rec here can accomplish. And I just wanted to thank you for supporting them and their budget and their needs and help them carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mary Sloan.
My name is Mary Sloan in Stevensville, Maryland. I am also the co-founder of the Jacob Sloan Foundation, but tonight I'm here speaking as the facilitator, the lead facilitator of the Parents Bereaved group here on Kent Island. It's a group that no parent should ever have to join. And I'm very proud of you two for speaking. And I'm asking that the Board of Education, that there be made more funding for the mental health programs and services in Queen Anne's County schools as an urgent priority. This year alone, the community's experienced the heartbreaking loss of 4 teens to suicide. But behind every loss is a family forever changed, classmates struggling to understand, and a community asking if something more could have been done. Through our bereaved parents group, I have seen firsthand the growing number of families affected by mental health struggles among our youth. Far too many parents have needed our support after unimaginable loss. The need for stronger mental health resources in our schools is critical. Our students need greater access to counselors, prevention programs, peer support, crisis intervention, and education that addresses depression, anxiety, bullying, trauma, and suicide prevention. Often schools can be the first place where warning signs are seen. We must ensure that they have all the tools necessary and all the resources necessary to respond to a crisis before it becomes another tragedy. Investing in mental health support is not optional. It's essential to protecting the well-being and lives of our children and families. In our county alone, not only is it, see, now I'm going off script, but that's because this is such a heartfelt journey. Even though my story with the loss of our son is different, it's not from suicide. I remember parents calling me saying, my child's struggling in school. Who can I get to help them? I was in the depths of my darkest days, yet I felt an obligation to try to find those parents or those students help. We need more resources in this county to address mental health issues for families, for children, and for the schools. It has to be a priority. And our foundation, we have helped with other mental health initiatives in the county and we continue to stand by to help where we can help too. But I felt as a grief support counselor in our county that it was crucial that I was able to come up here not only as a parent, not only as a, running our foundation, but as a parent of child loss. And it's something that we want no other parents to go through. It's something that unless you've walked that walk, you don't understand the need that we have, especially in this county, for more support for these families, these children, these communities. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate all that you all do currently. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's all we had signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to make any public comments this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Gurpreet Saini. I'm a resident of Queen Anne County. I live in Graysonville. I work in Annapolis. I'm a doctor. I heard the parents, and I think, yes, we need to support our mental health services in the school. I'm just going to make a small, short story. When I first initially bought my house in the Queen Anne County, I looked at our Graysonville Elementary School, compared it with other counties' elementary school, how they are performing. Coming from the Indian background, I wanted the best school for my kid. And I know our schools are doing very good, but we need a lot of support from the school system. I want our board to be supported for education programs so that, look at Howard County, why they are doing best, why other counties are doing much more better. Of course, mental health also plays a role into this. So definitely a lot of support into the public school system. That's what I would request from all of you. I didn't want to put my kid into the private school. I have 2 kids. Although I can afford with my husband, but I think public schools should be given a fair chance to accelerate in their education. And if parents like me and other educated parents would not put our kids into public school, we will not give them fair chance. And kids need to learn from this system. And another thing is the bullying. I have been hearing a lot of bullying going around the schools, so I would appreciate if you guys can come up with some kind of program and prevention for that. And lastly, is there any chance we can get a playground at Long Point Park, please? I'm a mother. I drive my kids around looking for playgrounds. Thank you for Mowbray Park, but I don't want to add to the island traffic or congestion in the summer months. If you can give us our playground back at the Long Point Park, that will be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else wish to make some public comments this evening? No? Going once, twice? All right. I'll turn it back over to the commissioners for any closing remarks. Commissioners?
Chris, you want
Let's, Patrick, you want to go first because I think there's a hot topic that you should be, you've been working really hard on as well, so let's talk about it. No, Pat, because I think, sir, thank you for sharing your story, and Commissioner McLaughlin has been working on trying to get more funding for a youth crisis center since even before your son took his life. I remember we were at the Maryland Association of Counties just a few weeks before before your son took his life, and Commissioner McLaughlin going up to Governor Moore and explaining the money that we needed from the state because he secured a $5 million grant from the federal government, but we need the matching money from the state. And he has been relentless in pursuing the state, and they're not doing it, right? They're not giving us our funding. And if you remember the chart up here that you saw for school funding, Queen Anne County is way above where we're supposed to be, and the state is way below. And that's not an excuse that Queen Anne County can't do more, because we will always do more. And if you ask Dr. Kibler, he'll tell you we've called him directly and said, whatever you need for mental health, we are your partner in this, and working with our Department of Health for that. It's not fast enough, it's not enough, and I get that. So I'm not making excuses for anything. You're 100% correct. But I do want Patrick to share what he's been working on, because this is something that has been at the forefront for him. And we need help from the citizens to get the state, because we are a rural county. I mean, the budget might look like a lot, you know, it does not go that far, as you've seen where everything goes, particularly when it comes to those things. So Patrick, why don't you talk about what you work on?
I didn't really know Christopher, and we were sitting at Mako, and it was my first Mako. And long story short, we were just lollygagging, and his daughter and my daughter, Bethany, knew a girl who took her life. And that kind of cemented our friendship and our bond, and we've been working. He's very nice to say it, but it's been a team effort. Jim, Jack, Phil, and Christopher and myself. I could talk for 2 hours about this. I was just on a Zoom with MDH and BHA, and it's the same crap every time. We don't have the money. So, as he was saying, we got a $5 million grant from Congressman Harris. All we need is a 25% matching grant from the state. It doesn't have to be from BHA or MDH. I talked to the Speaker of the House, Pena Melnick, before she was a speaker, and they just don't commit. They don't commit. They wouldn't let us submit they wouldn't let us submit it as a line item. They wouldn't let I'm talking about the legislature. They wouldn't let us submit it as a miscellaneous to the budget. So here we are. And this $5 million grant expires in about October or November if we can't get the matching fund. Now, what is it for? It's for capital improvements. We got the guys in front of you got a $4 million grant. You know, we don't talk about this stuff because we want it to get to the point where the doors are going to open, so we don't talk about it because, you know, we're not politicians. We're servant leaders for you. So we got this $4 million grant for the Whitsitt Center, which is a really great program in Kent County. We convinced the Kent County commissioners to go along with us. In 3 other counties, we were going to turn this vacant building into a PHP, partial hospitalization program. And we get this $5 million from the congressman, and we can't get the state to help us. And that's where we are. Then, even if they did, we still have to ask for $1.5 million for staffing per year. So what this would do, what would this do? So when the sheriff shows up and our great EMS show up at a place, someone's house that's having a mental health issue, they do an evaluation and then they call the emergency room, and the emergency room doctor says bring them in for an evaluation. Our goal is to take them directly to the either the Whitsitt Center or the PHP, where they can get evaluated immediately and get mental health care expeditiously, not sitting in an emergency room for days and days and days waiting for a bed to open up in Western Maryland so that their child can get inpatient care. So that is what these guys and we're fighting for, and Todd Mon and our EMS people. So I know it doesn't seem like we're doing a lot, Carl and Rebecca, but we are. Getting back to the call with MDH, it was about the 988 issues we're having, and I'm not going to say anything because we're on television, but I'll certainly talk to you afterwards if you'd like to talk about it. So I will also say that we need a plan. So we need a plan from the Board of Education and the Department of Education. Come to us and say, here, this is what we think we can do to help our kids. I know that Talbot County has a really exceptional program called the Yellow Ribbon or Yellow Slip. And here's how it works. It starts in 3rd grade and it goes all the way through. So each child gets a yellow card. And if they're struggling with anything, or they know somebody who's struggling, and they don't have the words, They literally walk up to an adult in the school, and all the schools are, to your point, are trained on how to help this child. So the child doesn't feel bullied, the child doesn't feel like they're going to get in trouble, the child, et cetera, et cetera. They give the card to the teacher immediately takes the child to the principal's office in a safe space, I guess you could call it, where they call the parents in. That's a really good program. We do this in, I believe, I could be mistaken, we do this in 6th and 8th grade in Queen Anne's County. We're here, these 5 guys are sitting in front of you asking to tell us what we need to do. I don't have the answers. I've been working on this with these guys for 3-4 years. I started working on this before I got elected. I don't have the answers. I don't know. You know, one of the gentlemen, Liam, it happened at 1 o'clock in the morning on his phone. So it happened. It's not the school's fault. It is not the school's fault. But it is our responsibility, the schools, the Board of Ed, and the commissioners, to get proper training. We need a plan. And I don't know what that plan is. But our doors are open, and we'll listen. And you tell us what you need.
I have 2 questions to what you said. One is how we can help you in getting the funding.
Step up to the microphone?
So you said you're having difficulty getting the funding, right? How we can help as parents?
Right to the governor.
Okay.
To Christopher's point, we're in 1,000 people in a banquet. He's up on the plateau. I literally walked up onto the plateau in front of him to talk to him, to say, I got a $5 million grant from Congressman Harrison, and can you help me? Oh, yeah. 4 times I've talked to him, face to face. He puts me in touch with his aide, and it just falls by the wayside. I don't see Todd, but Todd emailed this guy. Todd emailed the governor's office multiple times, following up for McLaughlin talking to, and nothing. It's just really bizarre.
They need to hear from the people.
So thank you, Chris.
And no matter what level of elected office you are, I mean, for us too, right? Hearing from people matters a lot more than hearing from each other. But it does take the people reaching out. And I will vouch for Patrick's story because I think he made the state police uncomfortable when he got so close to the governor about that. But it is reaching out, and it's all the people. And we're happy to meet with you after and coordinate with that, because that makes a difference. You know, when the governor's office is hearing from parents, particularly parents who have lost a child, it's harder for them to ignore that correspondence. They hear from us, and unfortunately, you know, we're just a small rural county. It's easy not to pay attention to us if you're in Annapolis. But it's much harder for them to ignore the parents, and that's the voices that matter.
Yeah, we can definitely reach out. And the second question is, you set an example for Talbot County where they have this yellow ribbon kind of system. In that example, you said kids are taken to the principal office, or certainly their parents are called in. Where is the mental health specialist? Do they have the mental health specialist there?
And so do we. And we have, and Megan Pinder is one of our mental health specialists, and Ms. Herlock. These are wonderful people.
We have only 2 in whole county?
Well, I can't speak to that.
You know, I was just going to say, I appreciate your points, but we have resources in all of their schools. The specific program you're talking about is not currently going on from 3rd grade to 12th grade. We are learning that best practice is saying maybe we bring that next year. But we have similar ways when a student's in mental health crisis in our schools that we bring resources around the child, whether just the general education classroom teacher, a guidance counselor, a social worker, assistant principal, sending resources from the central office down, mobile crisis that is in our community, a collection of our mental health providers. We have a lot of resources in this county to help, and we're just going to keep refining with the health department, those mental health professionals, our school system staff, our commission staff, to what we can do even more moving forward. And one of those suggestions is, like, we've been focusing class of high school, maybe we do need to do better at like 3rd grade on having a specific program around this starting next year, and we're going to do that. I mean, we were able to stand up a program in the last 3 months of the year for 6th grade through 12th grade. We stopped everything to make sure that we could get in front of every child like that in response to what's going on. And we're going to continue that moving forward, bringing it to the elementary level and all grades moving on out.
And we as parents, the most important thing is we make sure that our voices are heard. We can definitely support you guys and write the emails. Yeah. Thank you.
That would be
Thank you.
vitally important if everybody here could write, not just as an individual, but as an organization, you know, Noah's organization or whatever the organization you're affiliated with. And I don't know how we can get you these emails, because it would be the governor, the director of MDH, the director of BHA, et cetera, et cetera.
I'll reach out to Mary.
Well, but, I mean, for everybody, when you signed in, did everybody give their email? Yeah.
No, but I'll be happy to add mine.
Yeah.
I mean, is it as simple, and I'm not trying to simplify this, that it's that easy, because I have no idea what you guys do. I'm learning what you're doing, what you do, and I've come to have a new appreciation for the school board and now my county commissioners. But is it as simple as signatures? Hey, we're trying, our commissioner has this grant, and we're gonna lose it, and we have a problem here in our county, and we just need you to pay attention to this and get us over the finish line with it. Is it that simple?
It's more than just, it's not for you in particular.
I mean, signatures, that's what I mean.
It's your story, right? They need to hear the story because that's what's compelling for them. That's what's harder for them to do. If you get just a petition that has a whole bunch of signatures, and we get all the time these, a form letter, people sign it, or it says it's some sort of form email, and instead of writing your name, it still says insert name here, and email it to us, and like that.
Sure.
Not very persuasive, right?
Right.
But when you hear the actual stories of what somebody's been through and how it's affected them, it's really hard to be a human and ignore that, right?
That's why I came
And
tonight.
so we are still somewhat human up here, so, and the same, I think, in Annapolis, so those stories are what matter. So we can coordinate with you, because I think you could be a very important voice for what we're trying to do.
Whatever.
I can't guarantee that's gonna push up the edge, but it's gonna help.
So if I could make a suggestion, because I spend a lot of time in Annapolis, the governor's not where you want to go. The people that hold the purse strings in Annapolis is the legislature, and it's not going to do any good. We have 3 delegates and a senator here. They're in the minority party in Annapolis.
Who are those?
Delegate Ahrens, Delegate Grice, and Delegate Jacobs, and Senator Hershey. But my point is, you need to get it to the people who do hold the purse strings, which is the majority party. And I tell people this all the time: if you want something done in Annapolis, it's great to talk to your local delegates and senators, but you got to go after the people who actually have the vote to make a difference. So I recommend you send it to all of the committee member leaders, which I can get you all of those, and I will have Beth, who is our public information, I will have it share out to a group, and then we share it, whether it's through Facebook, however you want to do it, and share the story, right, to all those people. Because to Chris's point, they've got hearts, and that's what they've got to hear, is, we've done what we can do. We've got almost to the finish line, but we got to get across the finish line, and that's going to take help from there in terms of funding. And like I said, our delegates here and our senators, they're the greatest group in the world in Annapolis. They stop a lot of bad things from happening down there, quite frankly, for the rural counties. But again, you've got to make your point to the people who can make those decisions and get us across that finish line. And I'm kind of like Patrick. I hear about this. It's the most disheartening thing in the world when you got 2 kids and 3 young grandkids, and you look around at what the world's becoming. It's very sad, and to see the heartbreak and everything that goes into it. And, we want to do something. And I'm going to say it right now. I'm asking everybody in this room, everybody that's watching at home, get a group together. Let's all talk about it. Let's make a plan together because we're going to be much strong. I've learned this about being a rural county. You are much stronger with numbers than you are by yourself. When we go to Annapolis, we go with Kent, Talbot, Caroline, as many as we can get on the shore to go to Annapolis, and typically, sometimes we have success. So there's strength in numbers, there's strength in the stories, and that would be my suggestion, to get to Annapolis and get that home.
Carl, and Rebecca, I would just say thank you. When you do get to when all of you get to the point where we'll send an email to all of the folks that we'll supply you with, don't focus just on Queen Anne's County. Because it's the state of, this is a state issue, which is why we're going to MDH, right? Because that's their job. So make it and virtually, here's the strange thing, virtually every delegate and senator agree with you, especially on the Eastern Shore. They've been helping us. We've been working with Tom Hutchinson and I forget the other guy there, Johnny Mouts, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just our county, it's really the state. So, thank you.
Phil, you have anything?
Yeah, I first of all, I want to thank our staff. I want to thank our finance department. I want to thank our department heads. I want to thank our directors and the various departments that put together these budgets that they submit to our county administrator for his approval and then on to the commissioners. And a lot of times they ask that they get are told no. But they work hard and they work diligently to try to do the best they can for the dollars that we collect in taxes and other forms of revenue. So to our staff, thank you very much for everything that you guys do, and you are appreciated.
Jim, you haven't Jeff, you good? No, I'm going to, yeah, okay. So I'm going to shift to some of the financial stuff that we've talked about and heard about tonight. I'm not going to speak to anybody else in the state's budget right now, because just like us, they're going through the same process of hearings, finding out what's what. No budget is finalized in the state of Maryland. But I specifically, real quickly, just want to speak to the Talbot County comparison. One thing Talbot County and Anne Arundel County across the bridge have that we don't have the luxury of is they have a tax cap that is set by the citizens. The only thing that they can increase it for is education. And they basically, that's what they do, is they will make sure they have all their services paid for. Everything is that was budgeted, that they wanted to get in the budget is budgeted, and then they'll have a supplemental property tax that goes against education. So if they're 67 cents right now, that's probably where they're at, but I doubt, because they have a huge Kerwin hit this year, I doubt they're going to wind up at 67 at the end of the day. It'll probably be over 80 cents before it's all said and done. And I'm not going to speculate on the numbers because I don't know what they are right now, quite frankly. I know as of right now, we are the lowest at 80 cents.
I just looked it up, Jack. It's 81.3 cents.
Okay. So, and then Cecil County, they're struggling. And I really wanted to talk about education funding, because that is, and Dr. Kibler knows that's one of my passions, because I actually sat on the Kerwin Commission, on the budgeting and finance side of the Kerwin Commission. And I voted against it. I was one of 3 dissenting votes for one reason, because I knew we'd be sitting here today going through what we're going through, because they weren't leaving local education local. They were going to do one size fits all for the entire state, and they were going to create a budget that focused on that, which leaves counties like us and Somerset County and a lot of our shore counties in our western Maryland, our southern Maryland counties, trying to figure out how you close that gap on the money that they're telling you need. Meanwhile, we have things slipping through the cracks. And I talked to Dr. Kibler before tonight because I wanted to ask. There's 6 categories that have what they call restricted funds under the Kerwin Commission. Those restricted funds can be spent on those 6 items only. Now, they may have a surplus of $500,000, whatever, $1 million. He doesn't have the ability to move that where it's needed, whether it's mental health or any other part of the school system that needs extra money. Their only recourse is to come back to us. And you heard the number that the state shorted Queen Anne's County over the last 4 years. And that is from 2018, that number. So just add inflation to that $12 million that we've been shorted. We'd have all those mental health services. We'd have a lot more here. And we're trying to make it up. We do every year. For the last 4 years, we've $7, $8 million a year. But then you get to a point where you got to still look at the rest of the county and the other tax-paying people in the county, and you got to try to draw a balance where you can. And I'm a firm believer in spending cuts. I get that. But there's also a lot of necessity. We're an aging community here in Queen Anne's County. That's why we had to add a 7th EMS unit. And that's not a cheap proposition. When I first became commissioner, an ambulance costs $325,000, and it costs roughly $600,000 to put a crew on the road. Now an ambulance is well over $700,000 to $800,000, and a crew is $1.2 million to put on the road, right? So again, and I'm telling you, we're going to need another ambulance within the next 5 years. So all that's facing us, not to mention the fact that we have capital projects. We've been very diligent about trying to pay it forward in terms of capital projects, so we're not hitting the bond. That's how we have a AAA bond rating, because they look at our fiscal responsibility and how we spend money and how we pay our bills and how we look to the future. So Kerwin is the biggest thing out there in the state. Statewide, every county in this state is struggling making that mandate that's coming down each year. Next year, and I'm telling you all right now, because be sitting back here next year, and this conversation is going to be a lot worse, because next year, the state is supposed to almost triple what we're supposed to get, because they call it the fiscal cliff of education next year. That's when all the teachers are supposed to make their minimum salaries. That's when a lot of teachers are going to make more, because how many in here started out at the same salary and worked for it for 10, 15 years, the same salary? Anybody? I didn't think so. But that's what teachers are going to be doing based on, if I'm a first-year teacher and I make $60,000, but there's a teacher in there that's been under the previous systems only making $65,000. Do you think that teacher making $65,000 that's been there 6, 8 years is going to be okay with a first-year teacher coming in at $60,000? No, they're going to want more money. And that's understandable. We all would. That's human nature. And that's what's going to come due next year, and that's when we're going to see the biggest hit of Kerwin. And it's convenient. It's after an election year, so nobody has to talk about it right now. All you have to do is read the papers, look at the day after Siney died. You had the Senate President and you had the Speaker of the House come out and say, we got 3 things we've got to address between now and next session. Kerwin, the highway user revenues, which is how we take care of all our roads in the state, and the Medicare expansion, or Medicaid expansion. And total right now, they're projected to be a $2.2 billion deficit before they drop the gavel next year. So there's a lot to process. This next year is going to be a lot harder than what we faced before. We were just at a forum where everybody was talking about Queen Anne's County, and I told everybody there, the problem isn't in Queen Anne's County right now. It's whatever's going to happen across that bridge in Annapolis. So thank you.
These guys make my job easy. They know everything. I'll make a motion.
Can I mention?
Oh, sure.
Is Jess here? Is Jess still here?
Jesse?
Jesse.
Yes.
I'll talk to you afterwards. We're going to look at a feasibility study for sports fields up county, like up by Kent County. There's no red lights on Route 301. So I'll talk to you after this.
Thank you, sir.
Now you want a motion?
Absolutely.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Thank you all
Thank
for
you.
coming out tonight.
Yep.